This is it, YouTubian buddies. It's a series I promised last year. Wasn't able to do much with because of other projects. But now we can finally get this off the ground. Welcome to Whose Fault Is It Anyway? The show where the arguments are out of control, so the resolution has to matter. Basically, what this series is about is talking about crashes where people have multiple views of what happened, and I tell you once and for all, whose fault is it anyway? Now, the reason that I decided to do this series is because of the most ridiculous arguments I have had, not only with my friends in the past, but also my father. It's pretty hard nowadays to watch a race with my dad, because I'll always say that his guys will have his way, and then this thing, and then that thing, and it's just not a good thing. And one of the worst arguments we ever had, along with my little buddy Meredith, because one of her guys is involved, goes back to one of the most infamous crashes in Daytona 500 history. So for the inaugural edition of Whose Fault Is It Anyway, we are going to discuss the 2009 Daytona 500 Big One. Here it is, as it happened.
And all of those cars are cars that had made green flag stops prior to that caution. Boy, Brian Vickers, Dale Earnhardt Jr., that ain't going to work, boys.
Vickers hard. Here we go. Kyle Busch, the dominant car of the day, in the wall.
That was wrong.
And 10 cars sliding, slamming into the infield.
Jimmy Johnson, totally uncalled for. Totally.
I don't care who you are. That was just wrong.
Vickers puts the block on him, and then Junior just turns right back into the racetrack, right in the left rear, Brian Vickers.
Now this is where we start investigating everything. Let it be known that this was around 75 laps to go in the race. There were a bunch of cars that were fighting for, back then known as the Lucky Dog position, now known as the Free Pass. Both Dale Jr. and Brian Vickers were both a lap down, and they both wanted to be the head car just in case a caution came out. So now the question is, what started the wreck and could have it been prevented? Now let's look over here. We see Junior making the move, but then Vickers blocks. Junior has to try and check up, but then Vickers gets turned there, spinning Robbie Gordon, and then instigating the big one, which then takes out Kyle Busch. So now the question becomes, whose fault is it anyway? Was it Brian Vickers' fault for blocking, or Dale Jr.'s fault for trying to pass Vickers? We're going to be in our little simulation area. Pretend that this blue and reddish strip right here on the carpet is the yellow line. This car will be Brian Vickers, and this car will be Dale Jr. And this is the outside line, these two. The exact conundrum that we have is what exactly happened in this instance. Well, here's the thing. Junior was catching up to Vickers, right? Junior wanted to be the lucky dog or get ahead of Kyle Busch, makes the move to the inside to try and pass Vickers. Vickers, seeing this, does not want Junior to pass him, so he initiates the block. This gets Junior under the yellow line as Vickers keeps going down. Junior gets swervely, not trying to hit the grass, and then trying to get out at the same time, barely clips Vickers, causing said wreck and causing a big mess. Now the question is, whose fault is it anyway? Well, let's go back and view from another standpoint. What would have happened if Junior passed Vickers, but Vickers did not attempt to make the move? What would have happened is that Junior would have easily made a slingshot move against Vickers, get under Vickers' car, but stays above the yellow line, and then would have smoothly passed Vickers, and they could have continued in the race. Now, in terms of this crash, the question now becomes, whose fault is it anyway? Well, based on everything that I have seen and have shown in review in terms of different types of simulations, the obvious answer is that the 2009 Daytona 500 Big One, whose fault was it anyway? It's Brian Vickers' fault. If Vickers had not attempted the block to begin with, Junior would have easily passed Vickers, and then Vickers could draft with Junior to get away from Kyle Busch, who was mid-pack, and therefore no big one was initiated, no craziness comes out of the deal, and no one's arguing about this for the rest of their lives. Dad. So there you go. It's Brian Vickers' fault for the 2009 Daytona 500 Big One. No more arguments needed. I solved the issue for you guys right there and then. And that's what this series is all about. Is there any other crashes that you and your friends have had in the history of any form of auto racing? Would you like for me to figure out whose fault was it anyway for said incident? Let me know in the comments sector, and hopefully I'll get a very interesting one to review on episode 2 of Whose Fault Is It Anyway? Thank you everyone for watching. This is Ultimate 23 Dragon, and that's my final answer.